You ever pull up to your family land, the place your people have worked for 4 generations, only to find bulldozers grinding a barn into splinters while a woman in pearls tells you you're trespassing on your own soil? Yeah, that's how this story starts. Me, dust choking my throat, staring down Brenda Castellano and her BMW keys. She says, "You got 72 hours to get out." On my 2,700 acres land worth millions passed down since 1923. That's how quickly your whole world can flip. 1 minute you're king of the mountain, next you're an outlaw in your own backyard. See, I was out working construction in Denver for 3 months just trying to stack some cash when Shadow Creek HOA decided to slap a $50,000 lien for unpaid fees, held a secret vote, and get this, sold my entire ranch to a shell company Brenda owns. Illegally. If you're thinking that sounds insane, you're right. But I'm not just some ranch kid, I'm Owen Whitefield, and I've spent the last decade as a property title expert. I know the laws inside and out. They thought they could steal my family's legacy with a little paperwork. I was about to show them what happens when the paperwork fights back. Let me fill you in. Whitefield land's been here since Samuel Whitefield. My great-granddad homesteaded it with nothing but calloused hands and a government land grant. This is rolling Montana wilderness timber, clear streams, enough land to get lost on. Summers as a kid meant the barn Samuel built, the air thick with the smell of greased tobacco and motor oil. He taught me that land is the only thing they're not making any more of. Don't ever let 'em take our mountain boy. His words, not mine. In 1995, some hotshot developer built Shadow Creek Estates right below our ranch, identical McMansion's lawns so perfect you'd think God himself came down with a ruler. They formed their HOA, and somewhere in the legal mess, our homestead got sucked into their jurisdiction. Gray area, but my grandma was pushing 90 and tired of City Hall. So we just paid their annual fee, $247 for community beautification on wilderness that was beautiful before their subdivision ever broke ground. Then Brenda arrived. Soccer mom meets mob boss. 52 former realtor pearls for every day of the week, and a BMW with vanity plates. She worked her way up the HOA food chain till she ran the whole show. Problem was, Brenda owed $2.3 million to some very patient, very dangerous people. Casino debts, failed house flips, she was drowning. She looked at my land like it was her life raft. Her first play hit me with a certified letter, environmental hazard. Immediate payment required, 50 grand payable to the HOA or emergency remediation would start. The whole letter was legal gibberish codes that didn't exist, fines conjured out of thin air, signed by her brother-in-law's law firm to look official. But I've seen more fraudulent docs than most clerks see in a lifetime. When I called their office, the secretary whispered, "You didn't hear it from me, but Brenda's got shopping center plans all over her office. Says your mountain will make her rich." That's when it clicked. She knew about the gas reserves under my property. 47 million easy. But here's what Brenda didn't know. While she was making a career, terrorizing homeowners, I was making a career out of learning every loophole in Montana property law. David beats Goliath by reading the fine print. Goliath's too cocky to check. The day I saw the bulldozers, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Brenda thought she was messing with a guy who'd fold under pressure. She didn't know I'd spent years collecting every tool I'd need to bring her criminal empire crashing down. 3 days after I got back, Brenda delivered her next broadside, a $75,000 special assessment for fire hazard cleanup. The evidence, glossy photos of brush and dead trees. Except I recognized the barn in the background from a foreclosure auction 50 miles away. She'd printed random pictures from Google and handed them to me with a straight face. That night I spread every scrap of research across my table, old deeds, survey maps, legal precedents. Grandpa's words echoed, "The devil hides in the details, but so does salvation." First thing I found, any assessment over $1,000 needed 14 days written notice. Brenda's emergency meeting broke state law from the start. 2 Samuel's original homestead deed included federal protection designed to keep county crooks at bay. Third, an environmental study from 2 years back proved my land was a protected grizzly corridor. If Brenda tried to build anything, she was facing felony charges and jail time. So I filed complaints with the state, demanded an independent environmental survey on the HOA's dime, and waited. Brenda responded by hiring private security, which turned out to be Jake and Danny, 2 buddies I'd played football with in high school. Jake cornered me by the barn, grinning. She's paying us 20 an hour to watch you walk around your own land. Want us to tell her you're a model citizen? Game on. I started talking to other victims. Mrs. Tessa, who lost her garden to violations and got hit with $15,000 in forced landscaping bills. The Hendersons, who paid $8,000 to remove a flagpole. The Kowalskis, whose kids' swing set didn't match community aesthetics. Brenda's playbook: target the vulnerable, hit them with bogus fines, force them out, or bleed them dry. But her plan blew up when the environmental survey came back. My land was federally protected. Any development would trigger criminal charges. And those gas reserves, still mine, still untouchable. 37 days later, one day before the legal deadline to contest assessments, a thick envelope showed up: emergency foreclosure proceedings. They claimed I owed $127,000 in fees and interest charges I'd never seen for 18 months. I'd never been billed. Foreclosure hearing. Next Tuesday. I got the notice on Monday. Jake came by that night, sweating in his security uniform. He said Brenda was celebrating, talking about deals with a California developer, counting money she didn't have. He paused, voice low. She knows about your gas, Marcus. She's going to cash in one way or another. I called my lawyer, Tom, and he dug deep. Brenda was bankrupt, $2.3 million in the hole, had been looting the HOA reserve fund for years. Fake consulting fees, inflated maintenance contracts, buying her BMW and pearls with other people's dues. She'd forged my signature on HOA documents, pen and ink, not just copies, easy for any handwriting expert to spot. Monday night, I prepped Operation Legal Thermonuclear Emergency Injunction to stop the foreclosure documentation proving the property's real value, geological surveys showing $47 million in gas, $15 million in rare earth minerals. By sunrise Tuesday, I was marching into the courthouse with enough evidence to make the FBI's day. Judge Harrison took one look at the stack of paperwork: embezzlement, forged signatures, mineral rights, and froze everything. Ms. Castellanos, I'm ordering a full forensic audit of all HOA finances. All transactions involving Mr. Whitefield's land are on hold pending investigation. Brenda looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her lawyer sweated through his suit. But the best part, when Tom laid out the mineral rights, my property sat on the biggest energy reserve for miles. Brenda's little scheme just became federal racketeering. The next morning, Jake flew up my driveway, dust cloud behind him, phone in hand. Security footage of Brenda and her board voting to sell my land for $50,000 to her own LLC. They'd backdated everything, filed the sale before lunch, slapped sold signs across my fields by sunset. I drove home to yellow placards and fresh paint. That's when I learned what real fury tastes like: burns in your gut, turns your hands into fists. Sarah, my forensic accountant, called. She'd traced the money through shell companies and Cayman accounts. Brenda had done this to 12 other families, preying on people during deployments, illnesses, tough times. Over $2 million stolen. But here's the twist: Brenda's debts weren't to random creditors, they were to organized crime. She'd promised my land as collateral for a $12 million loan. My ace in the hole: water rights. My family's homestead claim controlled 85% of the water for Shadow Creek Estates. In a drought, the oldest claims win, and Brenda's subdivision got whatever was left, sometimes nothing. I filed claims with the state, sent letters to every homeowner. Phones started ringing, property values dropped like stones, and Brenda went into full panic, bribing officials, liquidating assets, and dumbest of all, threatening Sarah. What Brenda didn't know was Sarah had already called the feds. Soon enough, FBI agents arrived with search warrants. Brenda's face when they started tagging her furniture for seizure: pure art. But then out in the wreckage of Samuel's barn, I found a hidden safe. The combination was the date he took me up Pikes Peak as a kid. Inside, the real original homestead patent mineral rights surveys, and get this, the true Shadow Creek HOA incorporation papers. The fraud wasn't just Brenda's. When they formed the HOA, they'd tried to rope us in with fake boundaries. Samuel had proof of the scam locked away for decades. Buried in those papers was a clause: any property that predates the HOA by 50 years can petition for total dissolution. That's right, I could dissolve Shadow Creek HOA, wipe out every rule, every fee, every ounce of their power. With Lisa, my environmental lawyer, we filed everything: HOA dissolution, federal mineral rights, criminal conspiracy. The FBI orchestrated simultaneous raids, freezing bank accounts, arresting Brenda and her cronies. Media rolled in, victims testified, and prosecutors announced the Shadow Creek Act, annual audits, federal oversight, and criminal penalties for HOA fraud. Brenda's final act was a meltdown: press conferences, wild accusations, desperate attempts at escape. She tried to flee the country with $500,000 in cash and a fake passport, but agents caught her at the gate. Her perp walk in an orange jumpsuit broadcast on every channel was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen. Federal prosecutors outlined her crimes from racketeering to mineral rights fraud, and the asset list took 12 minutes to read out loud. The cherry on top. Judge Harrison. You have committed crimes against federal homestead rights that this court finds particularly egregious. She got 12 years. Her house, BMW, and pearls seized to repay victims. That fall, we held a freedom festival on the land barn, restored flags, flying families, reclaiming what Brenda tried to steal. The Shadow Creek Veterans Rehabilitation Center broke ground paid for with the money the feds seized. My wife, Sarah, we got married in Grandma's rose garden, handed out scholarships to kids whose parents fought the same fight. Looking out at Tommy and Maria, the foster kids we took in planting new oaks on the homestead, I realized legacy isn't just about holding on to what you've got. It's about making sure nobody can steal hope from the next generation. The coalition we built helps families across 6 states fight back, sharing what we learned so no one else gets steamrolled. So here's the lesson. People like Brenda win by overwhelming you with paperwork, with fear, with lies. They count on you giving up. But the law is there for a reason. You dig deep, you get smart, and you fight with facts, not fists. Sometimes mountain justice is letting the system do what it was made to do. Now I gotta ask, have you ever tangled with an HOA or seen someone abuse their power and think they'd never get caught? Drop your story in the comments. Do you believe justice always wins? Or is it just luck and timing? And hey, if you want to see more stories where the right folks come out on top, hit that subscribe. There are more mountain men out there than you think, and sometimes the best revenge is watching the system work.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.